Welcome to Breakthrough, the podcast that helps you to get unstuck, move forward, move on, and finally break through to that next level that you have been looking for. I'm Mickey Ruthman, transformational breakthrough coach, speaker, and author, and your host right here on the Breakthrough podcast. So get ready to break the barriers and break the limitations, and let's dive right on into this week's episode of Breakthrough. Right, guys, welcome to the Breakthrough podcast. It is such an honor to have today's guest here, and it's taken us a while to get together, but I'm super happy to introduce Dylan to you guys. But Dylan, I just want you to jump in, say hi to our audience, and tell them just a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Mickey. My name is Dylan Kohlstadt. I am a co-owner of ShiftOne Digital, a B2B digital marketing agency, as well as the Digital Marketing Academy. Both have been going for about 10 years now, and we specialize in making an impact, doing marketing that makes sales. That's the bottom line, is that I'm a sales marketing manager by experience, by trade, studied sales and marketing, and everything for me is about like, let's grow your business, brand build, yes, amazing, but definitely let's make you sales.
Okay, fantastic. And I think that is exactly why I wanted to have this chat with you today, because I think the last 2 years, digital has exploded. We were kind of forced to go into a digital world the last 2 years, especially, I was thinking the other day, even the businesses that never, ever entertained the idea of doing something digital. If you take hairdressers, in the last 2 years, when they weren't allowed to operate during the lockdowns, some of them started opening online shops, online stores. They were selling shampoos and conditioners and hair colors and all sorts of stuff. So I think it's kind of propelled digital to the forefront, but I do think it's still a very scary world for a lot of businesses out there. And I do think it's very misunderstood. There's a lot of myths and things around going digital, which is why I wanted us to have this chat today. I wanted to speak to an expert who can really just speak to people out there and say, this is what digital is. This is why it's great or not great for you. And we're going to get into that in today's chat as well. So my first question to you, Dylan, and this is a question that I get a lot because I think it's such a huge topic and such a big world that not everyone knows what exactly it means to go digital. So give us a bit of an idea. What does it mean for a business to go digital?
Yeah, I think in the olden days, you would do flyers. I'm that old that we did fax marketing. Like I was a fax spammer. One of my very first jobs, I had to fax people, So, and I think in the olden days, you didn't know where your marketing money was going and who was seeing it and which was affected. Was it the billboard? Was it the flyer? Was it the TV ad? Was it the radio ad? And now with digital, you can literally track each conversion and every single click from every channel and even across multiple channels. So now people are they'll see a Facebook ad, then they might Google it, then they might see your Google search ad, but not click. But it all builds this journey. Then they might land on your website. They may download a white paper or a free ebook, and then they end up, getting some emails, some drip feeding emails, and then they convert via the email. But you realize that there's this whole journey that's gone into building this trust and this sale, so you can even attribute your marketing across all of these different channels now, just all through the power of digital marketing. So it takes your money further, and it's way cheaper, way more effective, and way more trackable. So I think there have been a lot of companies that have been slow to adopt this. But I do agree with you, everybody. There's the flight to digital that has definitely been a thing. In the beginning when COVID hit, we lost 70% of our clients. We had to do a mini retrenchment, but within a couple of months, we've never been done so well. Everybody is calling us. We have to turn away so much work. In fact, if you're a small freelance digital marketer or small freelance agency and you need sales, reach out to me. I can send you so many leads, just clients that are too small for us now. So yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I think people were kind of forced to adopt the digital world, whether they wanted to or not, and whether it was a scary place for you or not. But in hindsight, looking at everything that's happened, because here's the thing, digital has not just been around for the last 2 years. I think a lot of people actually just realized that there's so much more you can do online in the last 2 years because they were forced to do it. But it's been around for almost a decade, more than a decade. And it's really just been growing since then. But from your perspective, is it really any and every type of business that can go digital, that can take their business and their marketing online?
Absolutely. Like, I don't know many companies that shouldn't be doing digital, because your audience is online. It's all about your audience. Is your audience online? Are they may not be active on, Facebook. So let's say you are trying to reach developers. Traditionally, developers, they're pretty savvy in terms of, privacy and what Mark Zuckerberg is up to. And so they're traditionally not on Facebook, but you'll definitely find them somewhere else. You might find them on Reddit, or you might find them on, SEO, Googling things, or, an article. They might follow a blogger. So you will find your audience online. And, look at older people. You can't even say anymore, like, I have an older audience, they're not online. Everybody's grandmother's on Facebook these days. So you'll find every single audience. The great thing is you can build these microscopic tribes, these little, very, very niche little audiences of very specific messaging through the power of online. You just need to find that little audience, find where they are on there. Are they on a Facebook group? How can you add value to their lives? And you can actually become very, very niched with digital marketing, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, let's use an example. And I mean, if you take, I think I find a lot of people as well speaking to me about, but I'm in retail. I don't want to reach the whole of the net and the whole of the world out there. And they kind of see digital as it just has to do with, the whole world. Everybody is on there. And that's great. But they don't seem to realize that it's so advanced now that you can zone in and zoom in specifically on the area and the type of client that you're looking for. So I do think it's key for people to understand that the digital world, although it's big and it's connecting us with the whole world, you can actually zone in on your geographical area, your exact type of client that you're looking for. I mean, not just one or two of the platforms, but all of them are working with so much data. I think they know your customer even better than you do. And if you use this, not just to build your brand, like you said, and build relationships with people on the net, but also to get your brand message out there, to build a community. I mean, if you think back to, you were saying earlier on about the days of faxes, and before we started the call, we were speaking about television and things like that used to be the main channels, television advertising. But yes, you were able to get feedback to see what your return on investment is on those campaigns, but you weren't really getting to know your customer sort of on a ground level, which I think digital is allowing people to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely, spot on. And I've actually got a free downloadable. I'm actually on it right now, looking at it, a target market template. I'll give you the link, Nick. You can put it in the description. It's for me, it's like so critical. Any new client that we get, this is where we start. It's unpacking your audience. And a lot of people, there's a jumble in their head when it comes to their audience. And when your mind is jumbled, your content's going to be jumbled. And so I need you to take this little Excel table and outline your audiences from start to finish. Let's say your 3 or your 4 key audiences, unpack them across, like, who are they, what are their needs, what do they look like, how old are they, do they have any defining characteristics, and the more niche you are, the more targeted you can be, and the more relevant your message will be, and the greater your responses. So I completely, I think you're 100% on track. And you can even, like you said, geo target to like Durbanville, divorcees, high income. Facebook, Google used to know the most about you, but now Facebook has definitely overtaken them. And Facebook ads are dirt cheap. So it's just about sort of creating these little audiences, setting them up, and then creating content that is very niched to them. Because if you're trying to reach everybody, you're just going to reach nobody. So, and it's difficult because it's very time consuming. And you as an entrepreneur might be sitting there going, I don't have time for this. And you as a marketing manager might be sitting there saying, I don't have time for this. And so you just blast everyone with this generic message, and you wonder why your content marketing isn't working. Like, so it's very simple. Like, what I try to say to people is, let Mondays target this audience, and Tuesdays this audience, and Thursdays that audience. And let this month be about, mostly this need, like you're overarchingly covered. So you create some sort of a structure so that you don't just like, I don't know what to do. There's just so much to do. There's so many audiences. Who should I? Why should I? So you should know, like, when you've done your target market table, you should know your most profitable audiences. You should know who your biggest audience is. You should know who your fastest growing audience is. You should know who your prospective long-term audience is that you're trying to win now for the long term. So you might be at the moment targeting the biggest audience, but they're not the most profitable. And you might find that actually your B2B audience is the most profitable, but they've got a longer sales cycle. So these are the things you need to unpack in this target market table that will help you to identify who to target and who to ignore.
Yeah. And I always tell some of my clients as well that the customer avatar is great to have. But what I find a lot of people do is they use the customer avatar for their brand, but they don't go into actually doing a customer avatar for every single product you have or every single brand under your company's brand. And they kind of, like you said, they just sort of mass market to the whole lot. But not every one of your products is going to be exactly the same target audience, right?
Yeah. 100% right. And that's why in this target market table, I even have a little section there, like which products and services, what are their needs, start with their needs, and then which services of yours are related to those needs. So that you match it all up across this beautiful little line. I always say that an Excel table solves every problem. And you just unpack it. Because often when I'm speaking to customers, I'll say to them, this coffee cup would be great to this audience. And they say, yeah, but what about my B2B audience? And they start talking about a totally different audience. Their heads are scrambled because like the minute I say something, they're talking about another audience, and then I address that audience and talk about another audience. So like, let's just talk about one audience at a time, see it from start to finish, because here's the power. Once you've done that little table, you'll work out which channels are my customers using. So you might say 40-something-year-old divorcees in Durbanville. Okay, so which channels are they on? They're on Facebook. They might search for some things on Google, things to do with kids. They might, so where are you going to go find them? Are they on email? Maybe not so much. So, but then you might have a B2B audience. And your B2B audience is completely different. They might be techies. They might be resellers. They'll definitely be on LinkedIn. They'll definitely be on email. They might want to run a webinar for them. So once you've unpacked, let's just say these two audiences here, where are they? Where do I find them? Not where am I comfortable playing? Like, oh no, I don't do Facebook. But where are they? And that's your marketing plan. Then you can say, okay, I'm going to do these 3 things really well and reach this audience, and I'm going to do these 3 things really well, then ignore the rest. So, because the other thing is, like, people always come to you and say, oh, what about Pinterest? What about TikTok? Are you doing TikTok? And then you're like, oh my gosh. And then like it's usually like the shareholder's daughter told the wife, who told the chairman, and now you're getting pressure to do TikTok. And you can at least then, as a marketing manager, turn back and say, TikTok is not on our radar for the following reasons. None of our audiences use TikTok. Pinterest is on our radar, but only for the following quarter. That's the plan. So if you have a structure and a plan, you won't always feel like you're being bombarded, and you know exactly what you're doing. So I think that might help.
I absolutely love that you just said that, because that's exactly why I wanted to have this chat today, because I think that has kind of been happening, is people are literally just jumping onto platforms because they hear they have to. It's the newest craze, or it's the newest phase out there. But it might not be speaking to your audience. And I think there's a lot of, because there's so much stuff. I mean, geez, we initially just had Facebook, or was it MySpace? I think was first, but it was never really used for these purposes, I think. But, it was first just Facebook, and then Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok, like you said, everything came along. And I think it's created a lot of, not just pressure, but overwhelm for people, because they're trying to play on all of these platforms and be visible on all of these platforms. But I love what you just said, that, you don't have to play on that platform because somebody said it's the latest craze. It's where your clients are at, your ideal clients that you're looking for, that you want to play. But on that note, let's chat about social media for a moment. So is going digital, a part of going digital is being on social media key to going digital? Do you have to go on social media as a brand and as a business?
Yes, I would say yes. And the reason I say yes is because a lot of companies are going to seek you out on their favorite social platforms. Let's say that somebody's heard about you, or a friend mentioned your brand. One of the first places they're going to go to is Facebook to look at your Facebook page. They might go to your Instagram to check out your grid. They might go to your website to look at your website. And it's part of building trust. And but the kind of content you're creating is so key, because if you're creating content that is hard sell, I sell this, I sell this, I sell this, you need this, buy this, that doesn't create trust at all. It's like going on a date with someone and they haven't even told you you're pretty and they're asking if they can go back to your place. You have to create trust. And that's why we come back to the target market table. What are the needs of your audiences? What do they need? How are you helping them do life? How is and that's the content you create 100%. Help your audiences do life better. So if you're an HR software program, then the way you help your audience do life is your HR managers help them write articles on how to retain key staff, write articles on how to motivate staff to continuously study and improve, write articles on how to create great culture. And don't write articles on how to use your software and why your software is so great. So I would say that social media is key, but you have to do it right. You have to add value. So these days, the two starting points for me when I take on any brand is I look at your website, like, does it do its job? The first 4 seconds on that site, does it tell me who you are, why I should be there, what the site is about, what do you want me to do, what's in it for me? And a lot of the time when I land on a site, I don't even know what you sell without scrolling. I don't even know what you sell. I don't know what's in it for me, because they're talking about like navel gazing. It's about me, the brand, as opposed to you, the audience, the visitor, how we meet those needs. And so like the first thing that I do with a brand is I'll sit down and I'll do this messaging workshop. Let's just articulate the website, the first 4 seconds of the website, and then that needs to transfer into your social media as well, like the value that you bring. How will I feel as a customer after having successfully concluded with you? Whether you're selling pajamas, you make me feel luxury. I sleep in luxury because your pajamas are, the best fabric and blah, blah, blah. But it's just about how you make me feel at the end of using your product or service. And that's really the bottom line.
Dylan, yes, I absolutely agree. One of my favorite phrases that I coined a couple of years ago was add value before you sell you, because I think a lot of people see, especially social media, as this is just a place to sell stuff to people too, but it's not. It's, if we think back, you used to, brands used to stay top of mind with various channels with their clients, because you would see the ad on television, then you would hear them again on radio, you would read about them in a magazine or see an ad in a magazine. So you were constantly top of mind. And I think what brands need to realize is, yes, you want to be top of mind with people where they're playing now, which is social media, but you're not just there to push your brand at them, because, what I think the world of digital has done, because so many people have woken up to digital and social media marketing and brand building as well, you're playing in a bigger pool now, actually. Because people are, if you just think of your daily life, you are bombarded by brands and by advertising and by sales every moment of your life. The moment you pick up your phone, the moment you go on the internet, you are bombarded with brands and advertising and sales the whole time. But you need to stand out, right? And I think you're 100% right, is the way to stand out is add value to them, show them exactly who you are as a brand. And I know that there's been research over the last few years that have shown that the consumer is, yes, they want to know what's in it for them, and they want to know what your brand stands for, but they want to be a part of a brand that actually stands for something. It's not just about the product anymore.
I completely agree with that. And I love that you're saying that, because what I found as well on the B2B space, it's so critical that your subject matter experts, your CEO, your whoever is the face of the brand, starts to elevate and speak about what they believe in, and not just be hidden behind the brand. And like if you look at Elon Musk, he's very much in the forefront. When he speaks, his share prices go up. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing B2B influencers, B2C influencers starting to rise from within the company and speak up, because they have an authentic thing to say, because it's more authentic than when the brand speaks. When a human speaks, it's always better than when a brand speaks. So if you look at LinkedIn profiles, my LinkedIn profile, people follow me way more than they follow my companies. because they buy into me. The same with you, Mickey. People buy into you, and that's why they use you. It's not potentially relevant for all companies like MailChimp. I don't even know the CEOs of MailChimp, and we use MailChimp, you know. But the fact of the matter is, if you have something to say, and if it is authentic, and people want to follow people, you know, you've never had this soapbox before, like YouTube gives you, like Facebook gives you, like Instagram gives you this amazing opportunity to be very personal with people, and not be hidden behind the scenes. And it helps with recruitment as well. We've got a lot of our clients in the software as a service space are trying to hire developers. Everybody's trying to hire developers at these days. You know, if you're watching this and you haven't yet chosen your career, sorry, my dog just jumped off my lap. You haven't yet chosen career, go and be a developer. I promise you'll never regret it, financially at least. But so now you've got people looking at companies and top talent looking at companies. They're like, I don't know who I should work for. Let me work for the one whose vision I buy into. And it's all about recruitment, and my dog's going out the door. It's about recruitment, hiring top talent, retaining your top talent, sharing your vision with your staff, sharing your vision with your followers, inspiring. And not everybody is made for being in front of the camera. You know, you may be more of a podcast person. You know, you may not have a face for YouTube, but I think that it's something that you need to consider. And a lot of CEOs are very behind the scenes, and that's where I come in and say, well, fine, let's elevate your subject matter experts. Let's bring your subject matter experts to the fore and just showcase their knowledge and showcase their passion and their values, because nothing communicates it quite like video. So like when we're doing an article, so we'll interview the subject matter expert, we'll write the article on their behalf because none of them have time, and we'll write the article, and then we'll also do a quick little video, and we'll embed the video because some people want to watch the video, some people prefer to scan an article, so we're catering to two different audiences. We might just take the soundtrack and make it into a little podcast. So now you've got a podcast, you've got a video, and at the end of the day, you've got all these multiple different kinds of assets that you can put out, and it makes your following, the content, more interesting than just like the same kind of thing all the time. There's variety.
I absolutely agree. And I love that you said that, because in the space where I play, which is coaching, learning, and development space, you know, I tell companies that you think you're interviewing people, but they're interviewing you to see if they want to work there. And it's the same with your customer. It's the same with your customer. Your product can be as amazing as you can think of. But if you have a bad rep for how you treat your staff, or how you treat your suppliers, for just who you are out in the world, people are not going to buy into that. And I think social media, like you said, has really helped people. I mean, I never knew who the CEOs of many of the companies, the big brands out there were, if you didn't really go look. And now you kind of feel like you know them, you know their heart, you kind of know what they're all about, right? So what their vision is. And I think that's really what makes digital amazing for brands and for businesses as well. But I want to kind of just get into the practical, and I wanted to ask you if you could perhaps give our audience just sort of a success story of a business that perhaps wasn't sure about going digital or didn't really think it would work for them, and how things turned out at the end of the day.
Yes, happily. And I can possibly even share that case study with you. So we had a software as a service client in the shipping space. They launched a new program, which is an artificial intelligence predictive and prescriptive analytics platform as software as a service. And they launched it from scratch, and we were there for the very, day one. We built the website, we started the social media, and the CEO didn't really believe in marketing, and his co-partner basically didn't believe in it at all, and told us digital marketing is a complete waste. Why are you even bothering? And and the thing is, launching this platform from scratch, they didn't have unlimited budget, so we had to work really cleverly with our money. And it probably took about 8 months, and they closed one of the hugest companies in the shipping space. And literally like shut down all their sales because they're like so busy now. And so the case study was, yes, we were not successful in getting a lot of small users for them, which is what we had in the beginning hoped we would get. What we were successful in doing is attract the biggest. Now what happened, what we believe happened, is that this company, and a lot of companies out there, the prospective customers, started checking them out, because they started getting all these emails from people saying, oh, I've seen this, and oh, I see you guys have really upped your game, and oh, I see you really active here. And so that all this energy of us creating content and putting it out and writing articles and doing video and animations and websites, and so we're busy pumping out all this stuff and creating all this value for their audience. And so the audience perks up and starts watching, because they're like, I know this is targeted at me, but I'm just going to wait because it's a totally new brand, and let me just wait and see. And the bigger the company, the longer the sales cycle, because now I may buy in, but I have to convert my bosses up the chain. So so basically what started to happen was, it took a couple of months of companies just watching them and checking them out before they started getting these inquiries. And they got so many inquiries in after that point that they literally are now completely in the recruitment game. So they're like, okay, stop. We don't want any more customers right now. Let's just get amazing staff. So it works, and it works very well. And there's different spaces we play in. Obviously, we're still playing the VTC space where, you know, somebody gives us 30,000 Rand and we make like 2 or 3 million for them in like 3 days. You know, so it's totally different. It depends on who you're trying to target, your goals and your budgets. And but yeah, it definitely works. I would not be here if we just took people's money and it didn't work. And there are very rare cases where, like, we'll do something and it doesn't work. And by doesn't work, I always use inverted commas, because people will say, oh, the social media is not working. And I'll be like, what does not working mean? It's building community. That's what social media is there for. Ads are there to sell. So if you're talking about sales, when you're saying not working, then you have to use the right weapon. You can't just go and like expect a garden fork to mow the lawn, you know. So that's also one thing that we're pretty good at, is like, if you come with a different goal, we'll tell you, okay, this works for this goal, this works for this goal. So don't, you know, we had this big prospective client come to us, and they were like, do this big brand awareness campaign, but it must also sell. And I'm like, okay, but it's two kind of totally different goals, you know. Don't come and ask me why is this not selling when we're doing stuff to build brand awareness and trust. And then after a while, we can start to look at, you know, converting. And so, yeah, I think that's also a bit of an education that needs to happen in the space. But that's where we're there to guide, and yeah, to lead people.
I love that. And you're totally right. It's a process, because in whether it's online or not, I always say, I think people get stuck that it's online. In real life, if I had to meet someone for the first time in real life, literally just walk up to them in a coffee shop and ask them to marry me, would they say yes? No, they won't. So, you know, online relationship building isn't much different to building relationship offline. It's still human beings you're working with, although you're doing it through a screen or through technology. And I think you touched on something key there as well. I think that we were speaking earlier on, for instance, about fax machines. Companies who are playing in the digital space now, who are on social media, who are visible there, right? And building relationships with their clients or prospective clients or service providers that they want to reach through there, are seen as more progressive and innovative, because this is where the world is going. This is what everyone's doing. I mean, can you imagine if I had to deal with a client and I promote myself as a brand that is progressive and forward thinking and you know, funky and all of that stuff, but I'm not on social media, and I still ask you to send me a fax versus an email. The message is just a disconnect, right? So I do think it's key for businesses to consider actually just, and you know what, that's going to be my next question, but just to kind of not get stuck, because I think a lot of people get stuck in the headspace, and you just mentioned it now as well. Yes, there are a lot of people out there who will promise you the world when it comes to what they can do for you with digital. But, you know, go with the people who have a track record. Find out from other clients, you know, what this agency has done or this person has done for other clients before. Because I think, like you said, there's a lot of people who have gone down this route, either themselves, they've tried it themselves, and that didn't work for them. Or they have perhaps decided, I'm going to take a small budget and just get some person who says they can do this to do this for me. And then it doesn't work. And then they make sort of the overall meaning behind that social media doesn't work or digital doesn't work. And that is really my next question. If there is somebody listening right now, whether it's a business owner, whether it's someone working in the marketing space within a company, whether it's a SME even, but any type of business who either wants to take their stuff online or really invest in digital as a channel for marketing and building their brand, or is perhaps already playing in that space but have not really put that push behind it as part of their strategy. Where should they begin? Where do they start? Like, what is the starting point to say, okay, right, we're going to make this a priority, and we're really going to put a push behind this now?
I love that question. In the olden days, I would just like jump in with a client and literally start their marketing and work it out as we go along, because there was no time to do things properly, but there was always time to, just get started and then like work it out. And these days, I will not touch a client if we haven't done a marketing strategy session. So the very starting point is, we have to all align. And most companies that I work with, they don't have a marketing strategy in place, either because they don't have a marketing manager. A lot of the software as a service clients, they don't actually have a marketing marketing manager. We act as the marketing manager and the department, or they have a marketing manager who's completely snowed under, because literally just creating social media content is a full-time job. Writing articles, all of this stuff, it's extremely time consuming. So the starting point for me is what we'll do is we'll book like what used to be a full day when it was face-to-face, but now because everything's online, it'll be 4 2-hour sessions. And it is a high-speed move through it is a high-speed, like if you take a pebble and you flick it over the surface of the water, it's going to skim. It's not a deep dive into every single channel, because that will take a lot more time, and we can do that. I mean, we could spend a full day just on email marketing alone. We could spend a full day just on Facebook alone or on LinkedIn alone. But what it does is it gives us a very, very quick, shallow view of, who's the audience, what is your competitive advantage, what is the gap. And the place where we spend the most time is this messaging workshop, where we actually work out like, what is our big value add? Is almost like your elevator pitch. Like when I land on your website, what is that big benefit statement that pops out at me? And that's really where we add so much value. And there's so many insights that come in, when we do the target market table, so many insights. When we do a competitive analysis, so many insights. And then when we get to your brand, and I mean, we could spend weeks workshopping your brand, but immediately we'll start to see, oh wait, there's a disconnect here. Like we did this strategy session for this HR software, and when they came to us, they were sort of a blue and white, very plain, very corporate, very banking kind of software program. And when they left, they were popping orange with like little characters. They just completely, we ended up realizing that their brand needs to pop, needs to be different, needs to stand out. So so across the whole strategy, I think that one of the big values is it aligns the company's team. So all the executive, whoever's sitting in on this workshop, they get to speak, and everybody gets to align. And also for us as an agency coming on board, taking a new client, we get to understand the product, the benefit, the audience, and all of that stuff. And then also ultimately we understand what our niche is, what our messaging is, who our audience is, what are we going to go out there and push, and how are we going to push it, and to whom. And so I can't stress the value enough of that little marketing strategy session, just in terms of, because marketing strategy documents can be often like this Word document that rambles on for hundreds of pages. And yes, there's value in there, but it's hidden and it's so murky, and it's hard for a marketing manager to take this thing and actually like apply it. So I work in PowerPoint, because PowerPoint has these, it's kind of like headings, and you can cluster everything, and you get this almost like a high level snapshot of email marketing, all the things we're going to do, the best, the right approach to our email marketing, podcasts, webinars. We've got it all there. The whole channel plan gets unpacked. So that for me is the starting point. And then once you've got that in place, it'll tell you, who your audience is, which platforms to focus on. And usually we have to redo at least your website homepage. Very, very often the website homepage just doesn't cut it at all. And we won't come in and say like, let's redo the whole site, rarely. But usually we redo the new homepage based on the insights that come out of the workshop. And then from there, we start writing articles, and we might do press, and we might do, ads, and we might create these, customer journeys for different audience segments. You know, so we start then doing all your social media, podcasts. The whole thing starts to pull together to create what, you know, this integrated digital marketing strategy that will achieve you your goals. So yeah, I think that's the main thing, is let's think first, let's get the thinking sorted out before we start acting, and then we can really just have a plan, and we stop every 3 months and review, and every 6 months do a big review, and every year we do, you know, an annual review. And obviously every day we're checking and aligning and optimizing, but I think we have like a 3-month plan, put it in place. If something's not working, we'll cut it. If something is working, put more money behind it. If something's not working, we're trying to understand why is it not working, you know, because exactly to the point you said earlier, I've often like gone to a client and said, I think this is the right approach. No, we tried that and it didn't work. Okay, but like, what does didn't work mean? You know, was it the artwork? Maybe the artwork was terrible. Maybe you had targeted the wrong audience. You know, maybe you had, you know, like social selling, for example. We audited a client's LinkedIn social selling strategy, and they have a terrible social selling conversion metric at this point in time. It's like 1 in 100 emails that they're sending out will they get a response. And they could actually turn around and say it's not working. Okay, they didn't. They turned to us and said, please tell us why it's not working, and everything was wrong. so if you say something's not working, we need to interrogate that statement. Like, did you have the wrong goal? Did you have the wrong audience? You know, what didn't work? Because, like, you know, this same client who didn't believe in digital marketing now believes in digital marketing, but for a long time didn't believe in the value of email marketing either. So it took a long time of convincing them, you know, actually email marketing is one of your top channels for these reasons. But yeah, so that, I don't know if that helps, but get your thinking straight. Get your marketing strategy together. I'm happy to share my marketing templates with you as well, if you want, if it helps. And then from there, just go out and tackle your platforms in the following order. I would say website, and then social media, and then everything else you can just start building on from there.
Yeah, I love what you just said. Guys, I want to just reiterate what Dylan just said, because that is so important. Is, you know, in the example you just gave, it does not mean that email marketing doesn't work. You know, it's been proven to work. It's worked for so many different companies and brands out there. But it could be just something in the process. It could be the content. It could be that you're emailing them too often. There could be hundreds of things just in that one channel that can be audited. So I fully agree with you, Dylan. I think a strategy session is really a starting point. And am I allowed to give away a little something to the audience that they might not know about you and me? But I do think that it's important for businesses to understand that. And this is why I love agencies like yourself, because, you know, guys, I'm going to say it. Before Dylan and I jumped on here, we had a quick little chat and just to catch up. And we just kind of touched on the point again of, you know, when you are the person at the head of a company or at the head of your own brand, right? It's your little baby. You do this, you've got these flaps. It takes someone on the outside to look at this maze that's going on up here and guide you through it and give you ideas and give it structure. So I fully agree with you, Dylan. I think strategy session really is the starting point for someone to start unpacking this and getting some direction. And I know that ShiftOne, your agency, is a full service agency, but do you also offer, just for the guys that are listening, just sort of those types of sessions as a starting point?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So we can just run your strategy for you. We'll give you the document. You can implement it yourself or give it to your other agency to implement. No problem at all. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, Vicky, because I'm going to say it's impossible to create your own elevator pitch. I'm going to just go with impossible. And the reason I do, because exactly like we were chatting about, it's so hard for me to do it for myself. I'm too close to my own brand. You're too close to, I know all the science about it, but you know, physician heal thyself. It's literally, you know, the cobbler's children's shoes. It's very, very difficult to elevator up and act as your customer, which is what we do when we come in and do a strategy session like that, is we'll act as your customer. We interrogate the BS that you're trying to feed us, and you can't because you're too close to it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
but yeah, I love doing these sessions because there's always so many insights. It's like mind blowing.
A good agency will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Whereas if you're the owner of a company and you go to your mom or your husband or somebody else, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear. So yeah, I fully agree. Go see the professionals, guys. So that is the starting point, as Dylan said. Dylan, this has been awesome. I think the guys got so much value out of this. And if you could just tell them, where can they get a hold of you, of your agency? I know you have a beautiful podcast as well and a couple of things happening. So if you could just give them an idea where to get in touch with you as well.
Thank you so much, Vicky. It's been such a privilege and a pleasure always chatting to you. So yeah, you can find me on shiftone.co.za or dylankohlstadt.com. You can email me dylan@dylankohlstadt.com or dylan@ShiftOne or the Digital Marketing Academy. Either way, you can just Google my name and something will pop up and I'll definitely reply. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'll eventually get there because I get a lot of messages on LinkedIn. And yeah, you can just find me on whichever social platform and I'll get back to you.
Okay, great. So guys, I will drop those for you in the notes for the show as well, because you'll notice I didn't say Dylan's surname today because I'm so afraid I'm going to say it right. It's Kohlstadt. Is that how we say it?
Exactly. That's good. That's good enough.
So we'll get the spelling down, and also just so the guys know, ShiftOne, it's ONE, not the number one. It's written ShiftOne. But Dylan, thank you so much for your time and your expert advice today. I really think that our listeners took a lot of value from this, and I hope that they reach out to you and at least do that one starting point that we spoke about. Just kind of unpack it and get some direction, because this is such an awesome channel, guys. I cannot say this enough. This is the world we live in, whether we like it or not. I'm not a fan of social media either. For me personally, as a person, it is way too much, but it really is. If you are a company that wants to grow, you've got to grow with the times, you've got to grow with what's out there, and you need somebody like Dylan, an expert, and her team to guide you through this maze, because it's not as hard as it looks, but get the experts to do it for you. So thank you so much for listening, Dylan. Thank you again to you and for your time. I hope we're going to chat again soon.
Thank you, Mickey.